This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for August 5th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the investigations into those two horrifying massacres over the weekend as police look into the backgrounds of the two young men who killed 29 people in 2 states. Anti-Semitism is on the rise in Europe. See how it could lead to violence and spread to the United States. Protesters stage a strike in Hong Kong, prompting a severe warning from the city's leader of a very dangerous situation as China may be threatening to put down the protest with its military. And the legendary lost Ark of the Covenant, was it really taken far away from the Holy Land? We're going to hear from one researcher who says it may actually still be close to home. We've got all those stories and much more in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We want to begin this hour, though, with the aftermath of those 2 deadly shootings in Texas and Ohio, as police know the motive in the first shooting in El Paso, but are still trying to figure out why the second shooter went on a rampage in Dayton. His high school classmate says he was suspended for putting together a hit list of those he wanted to kill and a rape list of girls he wanted to sexually assault. Amber Strong brings us this look at the investigations and the ripple effect being felt right now in Washington.
2 communities are in mourning Monday, and the demand for legislative action from Washington is growing after 2 mass shootings in less than 24 hours. In Texas, vigils are taking place on both sides of the border to remember the victims of Saturday's mass shooting in El Paso.
AK, somebody's got shot.
20 people were killed when a gunman began firing on people at a crowded Walmart. The suspect was taken into custody without incident.
He basically didn't hold anything back. Particular questions were asked and he responded.
Investigators say the motive was a hatred of immigrants. And according to a manifesto believed to be posted by the gunman, the goal was to stop a, quote, invasion of Hispanics.
We are treating it as a domestic terrorism case. And we're going to do what we do to terrorists in this country, which is deliver swift and certain justice.
Maribel Latin was shot while raising money for her child's soccer team.
I had to pretend I was dead. And all I could say is, God, please take care of my children.
Just 13 hours later, a second mass shooting, this time at a popular entertainment district in Dayton, Ohio. 9 people were killed, among them the alleged shooter's sister. Police responded immediately, taking out the gunman in less than 1 minute.
Their amazing courage and their response undoubtedly saved many, many, many lives.
Although there is no known motive so far, high school classmates allege the shooter kept a hit list of fellow students. From Dayton to El Paso, a search for answers to the nation's gun violence. Presidential candidate and El Paso native Beto O'Rourke lays the blame for Saturday's shooting at the feet of the president.
Anybody who begins their campaign for the presidency by calling Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals, anyone who, as president, describes asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexico border as an infestation or an invasion or animals, sows the kind of fear, the kind of reaction that we saw in El Paso yesterday.
While the El Paso shooter was supportive of the president's policies, online posts state his views on immigrants predate Trump's presidency. White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney.
These are crazy people, sick people. And until we figure out why we're creating this many people like this in this culture, why we're giving them such wide sort of audiences on social media, why we're making weapons available to them when they probably shouldn't get them, those are the conversations to have.
Gun control advocates may get their wish. There's a bipartisan push for lawmakers on both sides of the aisle to return to Washington and take action.
And Amber Strong joins us now from Washington. So some are calling for Congress to come back into session to possibly pass a bill. How likely is that?
I guess it depends on how much pressure they get from the president. Several presidential candidates have already said they would be glad to come back. Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown said he would come back. Chuck Schumer calling on Mitch McConnell to come back, but so far no indication from the majority leader. So if they were to come back, what kind of bills might be passed? So there are 2 bills that the House has already passed. There's H.R. 8, H.R. 112, and they both have to do with background checks. One is about the transfer from person to person, and the other one has to do with extending the wait time for an arms dealer. So right now, an arms dealer has to wait 3 days for a background check to come back. Now, under this law, they would have to wait 10 days before they could proceed with the sale.
Do you have any idea if the president would sign any of these measures?
Well, if you remember after Las Vegas, the president said he would take action, and he did when it came to bump stocks. There is a ban now on bump stocks that came from this administration. The president is expected to give a speech today to kind of give some indication. He says that things need to get done, that he's been talking to the attorney general about what can be done. And then he took to Twitter not too long ago, about 30 minutes ago, and said Republicans and Democrats must come together to get strong on background checks, perhaps marrying the legislation with desperately needed immigration reform. So that gives us kind of some insight into what the president would be looking for and what he would be kind of willing to sign.
We'll be watching for that. Amber Strong reporting from Washington. Thank you.
Thank you.
Violence and the potential for violence isn't limited to the United States. The world's leading Jewish organizations gathered in New York last week to discuss what can be done about the global rise of anti-Semitism. The situation for Jews in Europe is becoming more and more dangerous, and it is coming to America. Dale Hurt brings us the story now from Brussels.
Adolf Hitler would have loved it, afloat in this year's carnival parade in the Belgian city of Aalst. It featured a Nazi-style depiction of greedy Jews sitting on a pile of money, one with a rat on his shoulder. And when confronted by Jewish groups, the town mayor defended it. This is the same carnival that in 2013 featured a Nazi railroad car carrying Jews to a death camp. Sometimes the evidence of anti-Semitism in Europe is obvious, and sometimes it's subtle, like when Jews quietly leave a neighborhood because it isn't safe anymore. I traveled through Brussels with Jewish leader Joel Rubenfeld to visit his boyhood synagogue, which had to be sold because the area became too dangerous for Jews.
I felt insecure coming here with my family. So it's a better thing that we left this place and that we go to a safest place.
Jews have been in Brussels since the 1st century. They're still here, but many are leaving because of anti-Semitism and threats of violence.
It's not the alia, the big alia, but the internal alia. People who are leaving their city, remaining in the same country, leaving their city to go to a safer city. Or people leaving their neighborhood because they feel threatened as a Jew there in this neighborhood and going to another neighborhood where they feel more secure.
The Jewish Museum in Brussels, where an Islamic terrorist killed 4 people in 2014, shows the 2,000-year history of the Jews in Belgium. But it's the more recent history that Europeans seem to be forgetting.
So it's people who say, yes, but it's not anti-Semitic, it's humor. But you know, this kind of humor is killing Jews. Meaning Jews have the power, Jews have the money, Jews have the control. All these very basic anti-Semitic cliches.
In Germany last year, violent attacks against Jews almost doubled. In Britain, anti-Semitic incidents have risen for a 3rd year in a row. Anti-Semitism even began to show itself in France's Yellow Vest movement. In Paris, American writer Nidra Poller says it showed that revolts against the wealthy and powerful inevitably turn against Jews.
Anti-Semitism is something like the fumes and the fire that come up out of the center of society when the surface is crackling apart.
A new Hudson Institute poll shows most Americans now believe anti-Semitism is growing in the United States. It's already infected the Democratic Party, and Rubenfeld has a warning to Christians. You're next.
More problems will come, you know. It's just the beginning. We know this. We know that about anti-Semitism, that anti-Semites, they start with Jews, but they never finish with Jews.
Dale Hurt, CBN News, Brussels.
Coming up, as clashes between protesters and police in Hong Kong have become a regular occurrence, China has released an amazing video showing Chinese soldiers training to shoot at protesters. We're going to tell you why China may be preparing for a brutal crackdown on these protests. We've got that story when we come back.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Protesters in Hong Kong filled public parks and squares in several districts and transportation hubs today in a general strike designed to draw attention to their demands that the city leader Carrie Lam resign. But Lam said she didn't think that was the answer and warned the disruptions have seriously undermined law and order. And she said that those protests
and are pushing our city, the city we all love, and many of us helped to build, to the verge of a very dangerous situation.
The protests have expanded into calls for democratic reforms, and the Chinese army has released a promotional video for its troops in Hong Kong showing them dealing with demonstrators, including aiming sniper guns at them. And joining us right now with more on the situation in Hong Kong is international correspondent Gary Lane. So, Gary, why this stern warning from Hong Kong's chief executive, Carrie Lam?
I think because this is a dangerous escalation now with this strike throughout Hong Kong today. It's one thing when you have demonstrators out in the streets protesting, which they started on June 9th. Now it's at a new level. They've shut down and crippled that city today. There's been no transportation by train. Also, 200 flights at the airport were canceled. And we're seeing stock markets, stock values, I should say, of corporations drop between 3 and 5%. Companies like Cathay Pacific that depend on Hong Kong, that's their hub, dropped about 3.4%. So when it starts costing money and disrupting life in Hong Kong, that's a dangerous new level.
Indeed, indeed it is. The United States, of course, extremely concerned about the Chinese troop buildup near the Hong Kong border, and also that recent video that we mentioned by the People's Liberation Army last week. Tell us about that.
Well, initially, our U.S. officials were a bit perplexed by that troop buildup. They're saying, okay, is this just an exercise? What's going on here? But then when the PLA released a video showing them putting down protests, a training video, and it was in Cantonese, which is the language of the people of Hong Kong. It wasn't in Mandarin. Then we became more concerned because this is a warning to the demonstrators in Hong Kong. Look, if you push us too far, we're going to invade. We're going to invade Hong Kong, and we're going to put this down because we don't want it spreading to the mainland. We want to keep our puppets, so the demonstrators say, Carrie Lam in power in Hong Kong.
We've been following this story for quite some time. What do the protesters want in Hong Kong?
Well, it started June 9th, and originally they said, look, we want this extradition treaty that you're trying to impose on Hong Kong gone. And Carrie Lam responded and suspended it. They say, no, that's not good enough. We want it just gone completely. And we want you, Carrie Lam, gone because you are a puppet of Beijing. We want a chief executive who is a pro-democracy person that is an advocate for Hong Kong, not an advocate for the communists.
Before we let you go, what kind of impact might this have on the U.S. trade negotiations?
Well, it depends on what China does. If they invade Hong Kong with troops, then there will be no more trade negotiations. Right now, each side is hardening their positions, and we're seeing President Trump last week imposed another 10% on $300 billion worth of products, Chinese products. That takes effect September 1st. The Chinese reportedly are ready to devalue their currency, and in addition to that, reportedly they are not importing any U.S. agricultural products. So we're at a dangerous time right now. We don't know which way this is going to go. Let's pray. We need to keep praying about this.
Indeed, tense situation all around. Thank you so much, Gary. Still ahead, a look into one of the greatest mysteries in biblical history. Whatever happened to the legendary lost Ark of the Covenant? Even though some people believe it is far away from Israel, even as distant as Ireland. We're going to hear from one researcher who says it could actually be much, much closer to its original home. Stay with us for that story.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
The search for the Ark of the Covenant has captured the imagination of movie makers, archaeologists, and even a queen in England. Legends have placed the Ark in such faraway places as Ethiopia and Ireland. But CBN's Chris Mitchell talked with one researcher who believes the Ark might be a lot closer to home than people think.
Researcher and author Harry Moskoff took CBN News through the Western Wall tunnels, up to the ramparts of the Temple Mount, and into the chambers surrounding Judaism's holiest site. His book, The Ark Report, chronicles his two-decade quest to find the legendary icon.
So here we are approaching the three arches.
He says one theory is that it was taken out of the temple and carried to Jericho 18 miles away.
It says in Jeremiah that some of the vessels of the temple were exited, sort of escaped as it were, through this area at the destruction of the first temple.
But Moskoff took us to the spot where he believes the Ark lies.
This particular section of the Western Wall is really fascinating, actually, because this stone is 570 tons.
Moskov believes a key clue lies behind this giant rock and says high-tech search tools give credence to his theory.
2 years ago, there were tests done by the University of Nebraska, sonar tests, etc., using electromagnetic waves. They actually found what's called a storage space across from here. So actually, there was a purpose for putting this giant stone, this massive slab here. One of the reasons, in my opinion, is to protect whatever it is on the other side. And according to my theory of the Ark actually was buried by King Josiah, I think it was 568 BC, in back of these boulders, these massive stones.
In fact, underneath the Temple Mount lie dozens of underground tunnels and chambers.
Back then, 150 years ago, Charles Warren went in, actually did a survey. Nothing's really been done for political purposes, obviously, unfortunately.
Since then,
no one's been allowed to even put a shovel, nothing.
Yeah.
But basically, they were the ones that surveyed the whole area, and they were the ones who picked out the tunnels, etc. Yeah. They couldn't find the Ark, but
maybe it wasn't time.
Warren, a British explorer, documented those tunnels at the request of Queen Victoria, just one of many throughout history looking for the Ark.
When people like the Crusaders and the Knights Templar, even the Palestine Exploration Fund, which was originally commissioned by Queen Victoria, came over the centuries to look for the Ark, what they were looking for was a golden box with the staves, but what they really should be looking for is a room. They could have been right up against the wall, and on the other side of the wall is the Ark.
Moskov says the original Holy of Holies had another chamber directly below it.
Actually, in the blueprint itself of the first temple, a chamber should be built exactly the same, Holy of Holies, exactly the same level of holiness as the one right above it. It was set up right from the beginning to house the Ark, with a golden floor and everything.
That's how Solomon built it, constructed, so the Ark itself could go down.
Right, it could go down.
Do you feel like there's a time when the Ark itself, when the time is right, will be revealed?
I do. Timing is incredibly important, incredibly significant. Obviously, it's a groundbreaking, game-changing, biblical type of discovery. My personal opinion is that when it does happen, it won't be in a clandestine way, where we're sneaking through these tunnels, you know what I mean, and we're bringing it out under cover of darkness. It'll be a great occasion, and it'll help bring the Messiah. It'll be something that all nations will really rejoice in.
Moskov credits Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark for the renewed interest.
There are some things that got right about the power of the Ark, etc., and its destructive forces shouldn't get in the wrong hands, and it knows where it is, so to speak. It suddenly became a thing. Oh, what is the Ark of the Covenant? What is that? Oh, yeah, it sort of put it into the face of the public, and maybe that was its best success. Yeah. I loved it personally. It's Hollywood.
What do you think is the main takeaway people need to know about the Ark of the Covenant?
It's a real thing, just like it did 2,700 years ago. It still exists today. It's got the broken tablets that Moses crashed down there at Mount Sinai, and the second tablets. It really does exist. We're really going to see it, hopefully, in our lifetime again. It is a catalyst for the Messiah to come.
Until it is revealed, the Ark of the Covenant built by Moses in the wilderness will continue to fascinate the world. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Western Wall Tunnels, Jerusalem.
Coming up, we're going to go to the other side of the world and show you how CBN is using its animated series Superbook to train Sunday school teachers in Thailand. We'll have that story for you. It's coming up right after this.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Welcome back. Superbook has been training Sunday school teachers in Thailand, recently hosting 2 seminars training teachers on Superbook's curriculum. More than 250 people from 143 churches attended the training, marking the largest training in the country to date. Superbook premiered episodes from Season 3 and offered a networking opportunity for attendees to share their experience using the curriculum. CBN's Thai team also prayed for all the churches in attendance, and you can learn more about what CBN is doing around the world by going to cbn.com/international. And time now for your Monday motivation. I leave you with this thought. With God on your side, you are fighting a fixed fight. And no matter the opponent, when the final bell rings, you win. You are not fighting for victory. You're fighting from a place of victory. With that word, make today a marvelous Monday and a wonderful week. That will do it for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can get more on the issues you care most about from CBNNews.com. You can also watch CBN News programs anytime throughout the day on the CBN News channel. Plus, let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a great day. Goodbye and God bless.